Jacob, I mean, you joined February, so it was like second semester of freshman year, I think, right? Um, and obviously, you go to a non-target school, like you said. The way you found us, I think, is a bit different than most people. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Elvis, you were actually the one that found us and then kind of talked to Jacob about it. Like, talk to us about how that happened, I guess.
Yeah, so basically, I kind of pretty much knew I was gonna strive for investment banking going into college. We did find out pretty early on as well that it would be a bit difficult considering, the school I was attending. No offense to the school, it's a great university, lots of great faculty and students I've met there. But truth of the matter is, it's not exactly an investment banking powerhouse. So we did realize, we had to look up some resources online. I knew I had to do a lot of footwork on my own. Obviously, I confided in my dad in this. I told him like, yeah, Dad, this is not going to be an easy journey. What's already thought to have been a hard journey is going to be even harder. And I mean, we both kind of looked into things, but I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I'm a notorious Googler, so I'm not sure exactly, Sam, how was that I found you. Might have been, a Google search or something, but I did come across a program, uh, Wall Street Oasis, Instagram, YouTube. I saw everything. I did my due diligence. Like always, maybe most parents, I was a bit skeptical. But I think I reached out to you kind of early, or we reached out kind of early, and once we had a conversation, I was pretty much sold, and I
Hmm.
told you, yeah, you want to do this? Let's do this. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about that because I mean a couple things I want to call out here. It's like one, Jacob, you mentioned you knew you wanted to do IB early on. I think that's pretty critical. Actually, like you just mentioned in passing, but so I don't think most people picked up on that. But like I think that's pretty critical, right? It's like nowadays, just given how early recruiting happens, and this is one thing that most parents don't realize is that a lot of parents think like, oh, my kid is a freshman or my kid's a sophomore, like no big deal, right? Like we wait till senior year and then we'll start thinking about looking for jobs then, because that's how most people do it for most other industries, and that's how most parents probably did it when back when they were in college and going through the job search process. And what usually is kind of like a shocker for people is like these days, if you want to get into like a top investment bank, you pretty much have to start applying and interviewing like halfway through sophomore year, which means to prepare for that and with all the lead time that's required to build up your resume and do the networking and do the interview prep and whatever, like you basically ideally have to start freshman year, right? Which is kind of crazy because it's like my kid's 18, just went to college and probably doesn't even like most people are like, they don't even know what they want to be yet, right? And then it's like you're already having to think about jobs. And so but like the most competitive candidates now, that's what they're all doing. So it's like if you're not thinking about investment banking until junior year or senior year, I'm not saying like then you can't get in, but it's going to be probably 10 times harder, especially if you can't get the summer internship between your junior and senior year. And also the quality of the bank that you usually end up at if you start that late is going to be a lot like it's going to be a lot worse because typically all the best banks get filled up first, right? So I think that's like kind of really the first big call out for people is like Jacob started working on this as early as freshman year, right? And I think that's a big part of the reason why he was able to be so successful, especially coming from a non-target school, right?
Another thing that I must say that I think timeline is important. The earlier you start, I feel like the better this process is. I see the comments online. I like, oh, I just decided to be an investment banker. I'm a junior, you know, and it makes everything so much harder. So if you support your child early on, a lot of people, I'm sure they come up to, a lot of students come up to their parents like, oh, there's this thing, Wall Street Mastermind, I want to join. And, they'll dance around it for 6 months or a semester, and I think maybe they already know they're going to say yes, but, it's like any parent, especially the old school parents, like you said, they go watch, they go to a car dealership 3 times before they buy, it, even though they know they're going to buy it, you know? And if you start early, you recognize what your son is trying to do. It helps.
Yeah, for sure. Time is the most valuable
Yeah,
resource
I mean,
during recruiting.
the data you have on your website, and you said you have something like when you start as a freshman, this is the amount of kids that that make it. You start as a sophomore, and when you start as a freshman, I think it's much better than if you start as a junior.
Yeah. And there's no magic behind that. It's literally just the kids that started freshman year are more prepared than the kids that started sophomore year. And the kids that started sophomore year are more prepared than the kids that started junior year, and so on and so forth. And that combined with the fact that, like I said, the best banks tend to recruit very early. And so the later you start, the fewer good options you're gonna have left, right? So it's literally just math. It's not because we do anything different. In fact, we help everyone to the best of our ability, no matter when you come in. But it's just that, like, the later you come in, kind of the lower your ceiling becomes, because we can't help you get a job at a firm that is no longer recruiting. So